Welcome back to a brand new video. Today, I'll be predicting the 2030 Premier League season. So, by 2030, I mean probably 2030/31. Because that technically starts in 2030. So maybe if I'm still around in 2030, I'll react to this. I'm just gonna be going from 20th till 1st, saying my prediction. This is very random. I'll probably get everything wrong, and yeah, let's get into it. 20th, Hull City. Not really much else to say. They seem like they're on the rise, and I reckon they'll probably get promoted. I reckon that they'll get promoted in 28/29 or whatever. And then the first season in the Premier League, they'll probably finish last. But I reckon they'll have a couple good seasons in the Championship before they actually get promoted. I reckon they'll probably make playoffs a couple times, maybe lose a playoff final, but I doubt they'll go up before this season. I doubt they're going to stay up much long after this season as well. 19th, Burnley, a team currently in the Premier League, although I say currently, they're going in 2 weeks. It's actually next week, isn't it? Not much else to say. They'll probably come up once before this season as well. I reckon they'll come up again next season, then maybe they'll survive 2 years and go down again, and they'll come back up this year, and then they'll get relegated again in 2030. It's just a bit of a endless cycle. 18th, Brentford. I reckon Brentford are going to get relegated next season, but I reckon they'll get promoted again, maybe 2027, and then they'll stay up for 2 or 3 years. Then they'll go down again this season with a good relegation fight against the next team. 17th, Everton. Everton won't have been relegated by this time, definitely not. I reckon they won't finish any higher than 13th, and they won't finish no lower than 17th. They don't really seem to be on the rise, but without point deductions, they would have actually had quite a good season this year. But they're never going to be up to those links again, at least for the next couple years, and I doubt they're going to get relegated. They're too big of a club, especially with the new stadium now. They'll be making some revenue with that as well, so they shouldn't get relegated. 16th, Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town will not. No, Ipswich Town will be staying up. Next season they're coming up, and I reckon they'll stay in the Premier League until 2030. I reckon it'll sort of be like a Wolves situation where they came up and then they done really well. Then everyone kind of forgets about the fact that they're only being promoted in the Premier League for they've been there for 5 years now, and no one really expects them to go down. And now they're just a certified Premier League club, which is kind of what I feel like Ipswich will be at this stage. They'll sort of be like Wolves now, where they'll have a good season, get top 10, they'll have a bad season, drop down to sort of 16th, and they'll probably get relegated in 2032 or something. But still, I reckon they'll be going strong in 2030. 15th, Nottingham Forest. Hate to break it to you, Nottingham Forest fans, but your club will be getting relegated before 2030. But I reckon they'll find their way back up, and they'll finish 15th this season. Not much else to say. Without point deductions, they would be nowhere near relegated, but the 3 relegated teams have been really poor. So in an actual proper season, I would fancy them to get relegated, to be honest. 14th, Fulham. Fulham will not have been relegated between now and 2030. They're just going to be like Everton, to be honest. I can't see them getting relegated for years now. Now they've properly cemented themselves. They're like a proper mid-table club. But like Crystal Palace, sort of, where they'll just finish around 15th to 10th every season. They won't really be in a relegation fight, but they'll never really make it into Europe. They'll just sort of be there. Yeah. Basically it. 13th, Leeds. Leeds will not be getting promoted this season. And by the time you're watching this, they would have played their first leg in the playoffs against Norwich, and I reckon they'll beat Norwich, but they'll lose the final to Southampton. I think they'll get promoted next season, and I think they'll stay in. No way. They'll get relegated probably after 1 or 2 seasons, and they'll come back up this season or the season before this one. And they'll manage to claw the way to a 13th and then get relegated in 2031. To be honest, bit like what they did last time they were in the Premier League, except they stayed up for 3 years, but still, same thing. 12th, Leicester. Leicester will not be getting relegated anytime soon. Last year, I don't know how they got relegated, but they're too good to get relegated. They have a Premier League on the Championship. They're too good to be relegated. They won the Premier League less than 10 years ago. I mean, they won't be getting relegated. They'll submit themselves as the team they used to be. They might get Europe, but they're never going to be up in the top 4, I don't think. But they'll definitely be like nowhere near a relegation battle. 11th, Brighton. I think Brighton will rebuild themselves after De Zerbi leaves, probably this season or next season. And they sort of just stay in this sort of maybe 7th to 12th sort of area where they're never going for top 4, but they're nowhere near relegation. They're just like as mid-table as you could possibly be, pretty much. 10th, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are really on the rise now. They've got a bunch of great young talents. If they can keep most of them, they're really set for the future. They won't be getting relegated anytime soon. I reckon they might push up and grab Europe one of these years. 9th, West Ham. I reckon West Ham might get relegated in a couple years, but then they'll come back up. They haven't been looking too great. I reckon all of their players will leave in about 2 years. They might get relegated in 2028 and then come back up this season and have a really good season with some new young talent. Ninth place, I guess. 8th, Spurs. Spurs are not going to be doing well the next couple seasons. They kind of got a bit lucky this season because Newcastle, Man United, Chelsea have all have injuries. If those teams can have their best players stay fit, they won't be doing very good. Spurs, I reckon they'll probably end up sort of like a 7th to 9th team, and some years they'll get Conference League, some years they'll fall out of Europe completely. They might sneak a 4th place one of the years, but they'll never be dropping down, but they're never going to be up anywhere near where they were like 5 years ago. 7th, Newcastle. Newcastle definitely going to bounce back, have a couple good seasons, but I doubt they're going to be a sort of Champions League every year team. I think they'll certainly slip up and have a couple bad seasons, exactly like this one where they finished 7th. 6th, Aston Villa. Unai Emery will be gone by 2030. In fact, he'll be gone by like 2026. But Aston Villa will stay in the strong position with the players they've got. They'll bring in a good manager, maybe someone like Andoni Iraola, and they're gonna keep rising. I doubt they'll be getting top 4 regularly, but they'll definitely be sort of in that Europe spot. They might have a bad season when they fall to like 13th, 14th under some rando manager like Graham Potter or something like that. They might hire De Zerbi and they'll fail, but then they'll bounce back and get someone good. And 2030 they will get 6th place. 5th place, Man United. I reckon Man United will have a couple bad years the next couple years, and then by 2030 they'll have some new manager who gets them to 5th in a bit of a lucky season under like a 25-year-old Garnacho and like a 23-year-old Mainu and some other random young players, and probably like an 80-year-old Harry Maguire. I guess 4th, Liverpool. I reckon by the 2030 Liverpool will be sort of back in their sort of top 4 phase. I reckon the next couple of years they'll have a couple bad seasons, and then by 2030 they'll be back up there competing for top 4, and maybe 2033 they'll be in a title race again. But I can't see them being anywhere near as good as they are right now next season when they're not having Jurgen Klopp. I just feel like Jurgen Klopp is the main reason they're doing so well, and I think a couple of their best players are going to leave the next couple of seasons since Klopp's left, and they're getting a bit old, most of them, like hitting mid-30s pretty soon. So 4th place. 3rd, Chelsea. Chelsea will have a very good team by 2030. All their like young players now will be right in their prime, and if they can keep a hold of most of them, and not have too many injuries, keep a good manager, Chelsea could easily be in a title race in a couple of years. But I don't think they'll be able to compete with the next 2 teams. But they'll definitely be doing good enough. 3rd place. 2nd, Man City. I reckon Man City will get their punishment. They'll get relegated or something. Then they'll come back up, rebuild, and they'll end up finishing second this season and sort of a big building back. So I reckon when they get first promoted, they'll probably finish like 7th or 6th, and then this season again, they'll have a good season where they finish second. Nowhere near the first place team, but still well enough clear of Chelsea in third. First place, Arsenal. No surprise here. I reckon Arteta will still be there. Saka will still be there. Odegaard, Rice will still be there. And they'll just be building on the team they currently have. And finally, with the Man City cheating powerhouse gone, they could just win a league without having to win every game apart from one in 2024. And yeah, Arsenal win the league in 2030. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you agree. Let me know what other videos you want to see. Follow my TikTok, subscribe to my second channel, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.